IEC says the recent results adjustment was due to the combination of ballots. And this has led to the results board seeing an adjustment of votes and percentages for parties. Let's unpack this further with the Deputy CEO of the IEC, Masego Sheburi. It's great to talk to you. Thanks very much for joining us this afternoon. Doubt and consternation over the 29 May elections. That's one of the headlines in some of the newspapers this morning. And this doubt and consternation refuses to die down. But the IEC says it is unnecessary and the numbers do add up.
Indeed, Michelle, the changes that we did that started trending yesterday were done already on the 7th of June and for a good purpose. As you know, the elections of the National Assembly are a two-tier election. In other words, a voter gets two ballots. One is reckoned in their region, the other is reckoned at the national level. All that we did was to give expression to that in the way that we presented our results since the 7th of June. In other words, combine the votes for a party, both the votes that they received in the region, as well as the votes that they received on the national compensatory ballot.
Yeah.
So that we make it easier for people to navigate. Instead of a person just seeing half of the National Assembly seats and having to go down and drill down in some of our reports to get a full picture, we presented this in a fuller picture so that people can see the total number of votes cast for a party and translate that into the number of seats and the share of the national votes that they've received.
So,
the change only is in respect of the National Assembly.
Right, and that's because 2 of the 3 ballots actually counted towards the seat allocation for the National Assembly. So that means 200 seats were determined by the national ballot, and then the regional ballot determined the other 200 seats in the 400-seat National Assembly. So if you count the 2 numbers together, before the IEC collated these numbers, you would have come to the new numbers that you're now seeing on the allocation on the IEC's website.
Indeed, and if a person were to go back to the results that you announced on the 2nd of June, they will see that there are no numerical changes to those results, or the number of seats that we assigned on the 2nd of June have not been altered.
Let me ask you this, Masego. Given what we know has been the discussion around the electoral results, particularly from certain parties, including the MK party, SARA is one of them as well that comes to mind. Did the IEC do this collation without a prior announcement? And if so, do you think that was wise, given the kind of contestation that's been taking place insofar as the election results are concerned?
Okay, the collation has not changed. The collation was done already before we announced the results on the 2nd of June, and parties would have had access to each of those results at the level of a voting station. What has changed is just the projection, the manner in which we package and present those results. We have not altered the collation. The collation occurred already when the Commission announced the result on the 2nd of June.
No, sure, I hear you on that. But even so, for you to present the numbers as they were added together for the 2 ballots, I know it may sound like sort of a trivial question, but just given the kind of discourse we're seeing around election results, do you think that it was wise to do so without perhaps saying beforehand, you know, we're going to be releasing these numbers? These are the numbers for the 2 of the 3 ballots.
Hindsight is the best teacher. I suppose we could have communicated better on when we changed the presentation of the results. But having said that, let's also not lose the fact that the result has not been altered in any shape or form.
Yeah. Anything in particular as Deputy CEO that comes to mind? I'm sure you've had your own debriefing sessions as the IEC. Was there anything that came up that perhaps is something that we can learn from going forward for the next provincial election, for the local government election, pardon me?
Obviously, as a learning institution, we will have occasion to debrief with stakeholders, including political parties. We'll draw lessons from the reports by observer missions and from all our staff. And once we've done that, we'll prepare for the next coming coming election. With your permission, Michelle, if you allow me to say the following. The results, there's a consternation about the provincial legislature results in the KZN to the effect that a party, NFP, does not have a seat. That is not true. That is misinformation. The result that we announced on the 2nd, the NFP has a seat. It has always had a seat since the 2nd of June, and that seat it still has today.
And you're talking about what the MK party has raised insofar as KwaZulu-Natal is concerned?
Yes, we saw some social media posting to the effect that the NFP does not have a seat in the legislature in KwaZulu-Natal, yes.
So, in terms of what court cases are still outstanding, can you remind us of that, please, Deputy CEO?
There is a court challenge at the instance of the MKP party. We were served with the papers on Friday. It is launched out of the Electoral Court. We will await directions from that court, and we will file the necessary responding affidavits with the court. That's the only court case that is outstanding out of these elections. And
we don't have a date as yet for the Electoral Court?
The Electoral Court is yet to issue directions. As soon as it issues directions, they will be made known. Yes, there are no directions as yet.
Right. And the MK party, according to the court papers which we received just over the weekend, once the elections declared to be not free and not fair. What will the response be from the part of the IEC, Deputy Chief?
The Commission is considering its position, and once it has filed court papers, those papers will be made public, and the public will then get the stance of the Commission. As I speak to you now, the Commission has not formulated its position.
All right. Deputy Chief Electoral Officer Masego Shiburi, thanks very much indeed for joining us this afternoon on Daytime Update.